indeed recorded. Okay, as we continue, if you've been to one of our other webinars, you know we kind of run a back channel for questions. You post them there, and either Gina will answer them immediately or she'll read them to me at the end of the webinar, and we will do our Q&A session. So please make sure that you put your questions on the back channel. Please add your email address and your name. I know that's an extra step, but I will be sending you a PDF of your questions along with our answers. So easiest way to do that is to get your emails, okay? I am LaShaka Wesley Hoosier. I'm the one-to-one at South Garland. And during this remote time, I'm also supporting Memorial, who have made me an honorary JAG. I feel so special. So Gina, come on in and introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gina King. I'm the one-to-one coach from Garland High School. I'm also supporting PAC. So I hope we have some teachers from PAC joining us today. And actually, just so everybody knows, anytime you see a webinar come across from any of the one-to-one coaches, we are not just dedicated to our schools. If you know somebody who's struggling with one of the tools that we're talking about, please send the information, and we're happy to help anybody. We just want everybody to be successful, and if they're having troubles or struggles, we're here to help.
Excellent point, Gina. Like I said, this is definitely being recorded to share with all of the campuses, and all of the other one-to-ones that are recording webinars are sharing theirs as well. So please, please, please reach out to any of us. We are more than happy to help with whatever we can. Okay, so we are talking about Google Forms today. We are going to review a lot of things pretty quickly, but Google Forms is actually one of the easier tools in the Google Suite to use. Forms is a vehicle for data collection. The true hero of Forms is actually the response sheet where all of the data goes. So we're also going to talk a little bit about the response sheet and some ways that you can more quickly sort that. So, I love memes. All right, so let's get started on Google Forms. So when you go to Forms, if you've never created a form before, yours will not look nearly as full as mine does. As you can see, I've done lots of forms for lots of different things. They do have templates up here at the top. So if you scroll through the template gallery, you'll be able to find things that they've already created. Exit tickets, tests, worksheets, course evals, and then anything else that you can think of that you may be able to modify for your classes. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with a blank form, and then we can go in and customize it to what we want it to be. So the very first thing you need to do when you're creating a form is give your form a title so that it's easier for you to find in the future. And as you can see, as I update this, this will also update by clicking on it. Okay, so I'm going to put in my form description. This is a little place where you can explain to either your students or other teachers what the form is for. You don't necessarily have to do a form description. However, I always try and put one in there with the directions for the students just to kind of clarify what it is. So this form is used to play with the settings and form responses. Oh, nope, I had it right. Okay, so this is just going to be a basic form. So when you go to your first question, it's automatically going to be untitled. You can decide what type of question you want it to be. And we're going to look at all of these questions very quickly. Oh, Gina said to go back and show how to find templates. Okay, so if you click on your form, you'll see the one I just started is automatically going to save here that I was working on it today. Okay, so up here, when you open Forms, if you go to forms.google.com or from your waffle, click on the Forms icon, which is this purple one, it will take you to this homepage. The template gallery, you literally just click on the word template, and then it brings up all of the general templates. that Google has already created. And then sometimes there are forms that have been created by GISD. So here are some that you can see that people have shared, and then you can submit a template if you want to keep it there. But for the most part, stick with general and then go from there, or you can always start with a blank one. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my form. Look, it's exactly the way we left it. Imagine that. So here's my question. Whenever you are creating a form for anybody, students, teachers, whatever, the very first thing you always need to ask for, and a lot of people forget, is name. Now, I like to separate mine in classes by first name, last name, and I made those two separate questions. It made it easier for me to sort alphabetically, because if the kids type all of their name in one, it's only going to sort by first name. So you need to make sure you have a first name and a last name question for ease of sorting on the sheet. Now, you can see as I typed that in, Google, as smart as it is, automatically switched it to short answer for me. Awesome. Okay, so if I go here and I've got my multiple choice question, I can make it check boxes where they can pick more than one thing. So if I was going to do a survey like, please talk about all of the tech topics that you need help with, forms, sheets, docs, slides, Flipgrid, Screencastify, okay? You could click all of those if you wanted to. There is no right or wrong answer. A drop down, I'm going to type in, I'll leave it as option 1 and then option 2. So then when you go to look, and anytime you want to see what your form looks like, you just click on that little eye. That gives them choices to pick from. So this is really important, again, for sorting, because as you can see, option 1 and option 3 were typed by Google, so they're spelled correctly with capitalization. I typed in opt 2. If your students are doing the same thing and everyone spells the word differently, or some are capitalized, some are not, they don't spell it correctly at all, they shorten it. When you go to sort, all of the option 1s won't be together unless you give them a drop down. Okay, so I've seen what my form looks like. Obviously, I don't have a question here. I'm going to go back and click on this pencil. I'm going to leave the site. Yes, I know. And it's going to take me back to editing the form. So again, if you want to see what your form looks like to people, you're just going to click the preview button. And then to get out of preview, you would click the pencil in the bottom right. So I'm going to type this in option. So that's what drop down looks like. We'll go to another type of question. Short answer and paragraph are self-explanatory. File upload. This is going to allow them to upload a file from their Google Drive and put it on the form. So if you are collecting essays, if you are collecting pictures or slides, rather than have them turn them in somewhere else, you can attach it to the form so they're all in one place. I used that function when we did our door decorating contest to have all of the people submit pictures of their doors when we were still on campus. Okay, so I'm going to hit continue on that. Yes, I know. And then it's going to give me options. If I only want specific file types, I can click yes, and then I can pick exactly what type of file I want. So you remember we had to do our training when the remote learning started and everyone got a certificate, or most people got a certificate. I requested that the staff members submit those through Google form, and I clicked PDF. So that means I'm only going to accept PDF documents. So upload your PDF here. I want them to only be able to upload 1. However, for your students, you can change that from 1 to 5 to 10. And then the maximum file size, you can set very large or small, depending on what you think your students will be uploading. Okay, so I would just leave it at 10 because there's not a whole lot of data within like a PDF or a document. If you're going to do a picture, you may need to up it just a little bit, because pictures tend to have more data within their file, but overall, not a huge issue. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that for now. I've set all of my parameters that I want. I'm going to go to this next question. I didn't want to click add there. Okay, so linear scale is exactly what it sounds like. So on a scale of 1 to 5, so any type of opinion surveys that you get about, on a scale of 1 to 5, how have your admin responded? 5 being great, 1 being poor, 2 remote learning. Okay, 5, great, wonderful. So you can do the same thing with your students. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being I loved it, 1 being I hated it, rate how much you liked the article we just read. Okay, multiple choice grid. This one gets a little tricky, so I am going to show you what that looks like. This is when you can match vocabulary words or images into a grid. So I'm going to do row 1, row 2, row 3, column 2, column 3, and then I'm going to show you guys what that will look like by clicking again on the preview button. So you can see here's my question for upload your PDF here. And then here's my row 1, row 2, row 3, column 1, column 2, column 3. The way this is set up, I'm only going to be able to choose 1 response per row. So as your students go through, if you're doing vocabulary, if you're having them match concepts to units, however you set it up, the use for this is endless. It's as creative as you can get it to be. They need to pick, okay? But notice I can put 2 in column 2 if I want. I could put all 3 in column 2 if I want. So as long as you, when you make this a quiz, set that as the correct answer, that will be fine. Okay, so we're gonna go, yes, I know. We're gonna go back to editing. So that is what the grid multiple choice is gonna look like. The checkbox grid is exactly what it sounds like. They can put checks in different columns and rows. And then date and time, pretty self-explanatory. This is just to make sure, again, that the date is being put in all the same way, time is being put in all the same way. So if you're setting up appointments with your students and you want them to let you know what time works best for them or when they want to schedule something with you, I would go ahead and use the date and time function. So that's all of the question types. Okay, we can import questions. This is a new feature that Forms did. So if you know that you were like, man, I remember I asked this question already. So it's the end of the year, you're putting together your unit exam, but you have quizzes from, you know, specific chapters. You can go in and import those questions to use again. So you would just click on whatever form you want to use, hit select, and then it brings up all of your questions. So then you just click the check boxes and then hit import, and boom, there are the questions exactly the way they were on your previous form. So you don't even have to retype them. The only thing you would need to do is go in and make them required, which is a nice feature. You can add a title and description on something specifically. So if you've got a new section, if you want to introduce a video, if you want to type directions before an image or a video, you can do that. You can add an image. So I'm going to have it do a Google image search because I don't think I have any images saved here. One of my favorite things to look for is dogs, of course, because they're the best animals ever. No offense to cat lovers out there. I'm just a dog person. So now I have imported this image. So I can put this image title in here. Cute dog. Okay. And now I can have my students, if I'm doing primary sources, if I want them to analyze something directly, if I'm putting in, if I have an image of a poem or some type of literary work, I can put that in there and have my students be able to see it directly on the form. I'm going to show you guys what that'll look like, but first I want to add a video. So if I go down, I can do another search directly from YouTube. So if you have recorded videos of yourself and you want to embed them into a Google form, you can. And for those of you using Screencastify, which is this addition up here, this add-on, this extension, looks like this, you know, pink arrow. It has a upload to YouTube button directly in there. So if you've created your YouTube channel, you create your Screencastify videos, you upload it directly to YouTube, you just pop in that URL, and your video of you goes directly into your Google form. I'm again going to look for dogs. So if you know that you've got an Amoeba Sisters video or something that you want to add, you can do whatever you would like. So I'm going to add cute puppies doing funny things. That dog is so precious. That's a really good picture. Okay, so if I scroll down, now I can see that I've got this video here. So I'm just going to put cute dogs doing funny things because that was the title of the video. Okay, and then I can, again, do questions underneath that video, or if I wanted to, I could add a section title. And then here, this creates a whole new section. So see how this says after section 1, continue to next section? This is where I would be able to choose if I want them to go from section 1 to section 4, from section 1 to submitting the form. I would be able to choose those functions directly. Okay, so we've gone over all of the question types. I'm going to show you what the picture and the video look like for the students on their end. So here's our example form. Notice it tells me that the name and photo associated with my Google account will be recorded. Please make sure that your students know that they should be using Google accounts to access your Google Forms. Unless you've changed that in the settings, which I'm going to show you how to do, they have to be logged in with their Google accounts. Okay. So as we scroll down, here is my dog picture embedded right in the form, and here's my video. So they don't have to go to an outside source. They don't have to do anything else. They just hit play. Oh, that's a bath and a half there. Okay, and the video plays within the form. So if you want them to watch a review video and then answer questions, all they have to do is stay on the form. So then next, if I click next, well, it's not going to let me go because I didn't answer anything. But if I did click next after I answered everything, it would take me to the next section. Okay, so we're going to leave that. We've gone over question types, how to add questions. Okay, so now let's talk about how to do a branching form and get it to go from one section to another based on their option that they choose. Okay, so if I click on these 3 dots, here it gives you the option to shuffle the order. I don't care about that. This is what I want, the go to section based on answer. So if I click this, so if I said instead, what is your favorite color? Okay, and then I want to group all my red people together, all my blue people together, all my green people together. And I'll add purple just because it's my favorite color and I didn't say that as an option. Okay, so now I can have them all go to the next section, but if I want all the red people to go to the same section, then I would say, here, go to section 2. Okay, so now when I go down to section 2, I'm going to title that one red just for ease. And then I've got another section, section 3, I'm going to title blue. And then section 4, I'm going to title green. And then I'll do section 5 for purple, just because it's my favorite. Okay, so now if I go back up to my question here, I can have, and you see it updated that automatically, so now section 2 is titled red. I can have all of my people that answered blue go to a special section just for blue questions, special section just for green, special section just for purple. So if you would like to differentiate digitally, this is the best way to do it. So let's say, what is your favorite color? I know that the correct answer is purple, right? Because it's the best color ever. So when I set that in my quiz settings, I'm going to make that my correct answer. But in my section red, because they got the wrong answer, I can have them review. So review color wheel options. And I can put in a video on the color wheel right here. So they get an immediate review based on their incorrect answer, which is super cool. So you can have them digitally differentiate, and you can immediately reteach based on incorrect or correct answers within the form. You can also do pictures if you have like a picture of your notes or a PDF of your notes or whatever you want to show them and say, hey, review these concepts and go back and try again. So digital differentiation, it sounds really hard to do a branching form, but it's actually super easy. So then if I go down to purple, okay, and I'm in section 5, then from section 5, I would want them to go to the next section because they got that question right. But here, after section 2, I want them to go back to section 1 so they can re-answer that question. So they get that immediate reteach, review without you having to do anything extra. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. So let's look at data validation. Data validation is a little tricky. You need to make sure that you don't do anything too long. So if you're asking for a quiz and you want a one-word answer, what is the capital of Texas? In your description, you need to make sure that you tell them it needs to be capitalized and spelled correctly in order for your data validation to work. So I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to turn this into a quiz so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. So while we're in settings, I want it to collect email addresses. That way I know if the students misspell their name or type it or, do whatever, put in a nickname, I can find them based on their email address. Since it's a quiz, I used to limit it to 1 response, but some teachers allow them to re-quiz until they're happy with their grade, so that's up to you. I do not want them to edit after they submit it, and I don't want them to see summary charts of responses, so I'm going to leave that there. There's my file uploaded. So then when I go to presentation, I do not want it to show the link to submit another response. And then I go to quizzes. Now here, you have to make sure this is toggled. That means turned on. So once I turn it on, it gives me all of these options. Do not mess with this, okay? If we were on campus, I would say absolutely do this because that means they can't go anywhere else. But since we're not on campus, that is very hard to monitor remotely. So we're gonna leave that alone. I don't want it to release the grades. I want to go through and make sure that, if a kid spelled something incorrectly, they're not being docked points because my data validation is turned on. I don't want them to be able to see the correct answers, and I don't want them to be able to see their missed questions because we're automatically doing reteach within the form, okay? But I do want them to see the point values. So I'm gonna save that, and now you can see it changed this, so there's an answer key button here. So if I click on answer key, I can go through and add answer feedback. So that means if they get an incorrect answer or correct answer, I can say, good job, try again. I can link something. I can embed a YouTube video based on feedback. Now, for them typing in their name, obviously they're not going to get any points. They probably don't need a good job feedback for that. But hey, we're all about making sure they're not stressed and feeling good now because it is super stressful. So we'll just congratulate them wherever we can. Okay, so now here, answer key. I have them going to specific sections. Okay, within the answer key, I'm going to select purple as my favorite color. Okay, so, and that's the correct answer. So for incorrect answers, I can put in the feedback, try again, please review video, and I can embed a video. So we'll do the color wheel again, color wheel. I'm going to use this one first, okay? So that means as soon as they pick the correct or the incorrect answer, it'll say, try again, please review video. And then for correct answer, I'm going to put, you got it, continue on in the quiz. Good. Okay, so now I can see that my stuff is saved here. So feedback for correct answers, automatic. Feedback for incorrect answers, automatic. Okay, so now if I go down to classroom code, all right, I want this to be a short answer, but I want it to be a number. I want it to be a number. So I can add a specific correct answer. So if I say, hey guys, what's my Google Classroom code? Okay, I want you guys to know that it is 124. There you go. Obviously that is not the correct answer, but there it is, okay? So mark all other answers incorrect. That means if they don't type in this specific answer, it won't be correct. So I'm going to hit done. Okay. So now if I click on this, see how it gives me response validation? It is a number. It has to be a number, and it needs to be equal to this specific number, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now if they get it incorrect, so let's say, for instance, I had the capital and I wanted to make sure it was spelled correctly. Okay, I could put in, be sure to use only numbers and capital letters. Okay. So now that data validation is going to be there. And when it goes through to grade it for me, I'll be able to make sure that those are the correct answers. So grading responses, validation, leveled forms, adding video. Great, great, great. Okay. So that's pretty much all of the questions and quizzes. So if you go into customizing themes, you can change your headers, you can choose an image, or you can upload an image. This is just going to be aesthetics for the students so that they're not getting just a basic form. So you can make it look like, you know, your class. And you can see once I picked this, it automatically changed the form to orange. You can set it to blue. You can change whatever. You can change the font to playful. You really have the freedom to kind of go in and personalize your form to whatever you want it to be. Okay, so now if I go and see what it looks like, it looks a little different than it did before. Okay, quickly, I'm going to go over sharing and then creating responses. So when you send your form, you do not want to copy this URL at the top. That's going to give them editing rights. You don't want to do that. Okay, you want to send it and you want to get this link. Now, I always shorten it just so it's easier for me to copy and paste. And then you just hit copy. So this is what you would put in Google Classroom or on Remind or post wherever. I would probably change that to either a GG or a bit.ly just so they could type it in, or maybe even put it on a QR code. So they scan the QR code and it takes them directly to the form. But do not ever send them the URL on the top of the screen. You need to make sure that you get the sharing link from the send button. Okay, now if I wanted to add another teacher to this, if I wanted to add another teacher, so I've got the same content area as another teacher and I want this teacher to be able to go in and edit questions or make a copy, whatever. I would just click add collaborators. Right now, I'm the only one that can do anything. So then I would just start to type in the email address, and there I can see Gina's little owl pops up. I'm going to give her editing rights. That's what that pencil means. She can edit, and I'm going to hit send. So now Gina's going to get an email telling her, hey, Lashaka shared this form with you, and you can edit it. Okay? So that's sharing. Since I've shared it with who I want to, it's done. So very important part. We've collected, or we've created this form, and we have all this data that the kids are going to put in. Where is it going to go? So you have to click on responses. And as you can see right now, it says waiting for responses because nobody's done anything. And it says accepting responses. If I wanted to turn this form off, okay, I can't take back the link I've shared with them. I can't take it off my Twitter. I mean, I can do all of that, but the link is still live. So if they've got it somewhere that I forgot to take it down, they're still going to be able to access it. So I just toggle this, and now it says not accepting responses. No longer accepting responses. But we're going to leave it the way it is, okay? And I'm going to click on this spreadsheet. Okay, Gina just asked me if I can add a time limit. You can with the Timify extension, but right now that is not approved for GISD. So my responses, where do I want them to go? I have two options. I can create a brand new spreadsheet, or I can select an existing spreadsheet. So that means I've already created a spreadsheet somewhere in my drive that I want all of these answers to go to. There's a plethora of reasons that you would want it to go to the same sheet. So you would just go in, hit select. It brings up all of your spreadsheets. And notice it says choose a spreadsheet and we'll copy responses to your form. Okay, I actually don't want to link it to another spreadsheet, but that's how you would do that. So I'm just going to click create new spreadsheet. So now I've created this spreadsheet and it opens on a specific new window. and I can see all of my questions across the top. So we are going to, the score is automatically there because it's going to grade it for us once we set the answer key on all of the questions. But I want it to automatically sort by last name. So to do that, I would just go to Data, Sort Sheet by column E, A to Z. So if there were responses there, they would all be alphabetized by last name. I can also change it so that if I have what is your favorite color, okay, I can go to Data, I can go to Data Validation, and I can have them click and enter a value from a range. I could do whatever I wanted on Data Validation, but I'm going to show you conditional formatting because this is the best way to quickly gauge correct and wrong answers. So if the cell contains, so text is exactly purple, P-U-R-P-L-E, okay, then I want it to turn the cell green. So that means if I type in purple, okay, the cell turns green. But if I type in red, the cell does not change. Red, blue, okay, green, yellow, any other color, it's going to stay what it is. But because I've told it automatically, if it's purple to turn green, it will. So what you could do is conditionally format every column so that all of the correct answers pop up green. So aside from the score, you can quickly see, based on the amount of green in a column, if there's a concept you need to review. So if you look and, okay, right now out of 5 kids, I've only got 1 that's got it correct. Maybe I need to review this concept as a whole because those videos that I embedded aren't working, or maybe I just did a bad job teaching it to that class. It happens. We're all human. Okay, so that's something we need to redo. And that's visually quickly for me to see that. So that's pretty much it for forms. Does anyone have any questions that you want to ask? Anybody?
Got to turn my mic on.
No, okay.
Mr. Morales is asking, is there a quick way in Sheets to automatically count how many cells turn green?
Yes. So here, I can just highlight and it should get, whoa, no. Okay. So here it turned everything purple, but down at the bottom, you see how it says count equals 22? I can just select the ones that I want and it'll give me a specific count of all of the cells. You could also do a sort, again, alphabetically. So let me go change this. Okay.
Can't you, I hate to interrupt you, can't you sort by color now?
You can with one of the add-ons. It's an extension.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an extension. But if I wanted to, I could go to Data, Sort column A to Z, and then all of my correct answers would be together. And then I would just kind of highlight how many are there, and it would tell me how many I've turned based on this number in the bottom right-hand corner.
Okay. Ms. Watts, yes, it is a lot of information. What we're going to do, if you are part of definitely South Garland and Garland, as soon as the video posts, we're going to email it out to our whole staff. And then I believe if you go to the digital learning website, they will post all of our one-to-one webinars on there. Or if you go to the question and answer, if you're not part of South Garland or Garland High School, if you go to our question and answer back channel and request it be emailed to you, we will do that as well. Elizabeth is asking, would you please review how students are going to access the form? So show her how to get the link and put it in Google Classroom or push it out.
So for the link, all I would do is click on the send button. Now I want to make sure it's completely done. Now I will tell you, once you send the link, any changes you make are automatically going to be updated. You don't have to resend the link, but you're just going to click on the link button and then it gives you a link. like I said, I always shorten it and then I just hit copy. So that is the link that you would post in Google Classroom or send out in an email, or you can link it to a QR code if they were on campus. Any other questions?
Let's see. I have a teacher on the back channel that's asking about, oh, and you know what you might do is show them how to link the form in Google Classroom.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then I have another question.
Okay.
After that.
So if I hit copy, okay, and I go to my Google Classroom, and you can get there through the waffle or just by typing in classroom.google.com. If I go to my test class, okay, because I don't want to freak anybody out, I'm going to go to classwork, and I can do create quiz assignment. Okay. Now, if you do that, it will automatically put your quiz there, but you don't have to do that. You can just go to add, go to your Google Drive, and you can do this two ways. You can pull it straight from your drive. So here's my example form quiz that I can add directly that way. Okay, and you can see there's the little image of what I had, or I can click on the add button and add the link that I've just copied. Either way, it's going to pull up the same thing. Okay. Now, this is super important. You want to make sure if you're doing it through Google Classroom that you allow grade importing.
And you probably want to do grade importing and do grade validation within forms with multiple choice questions.
Yes.
Be very careful with those open-ended responses, because it's going to give your kids like a maximum grade of like a 60, because it can't grade that. Right. And even the short answers are real finicky.
Exactly. So that's why I said, if you're doing data validation, keep it to maybe a one word and be very specific about how you want the answer typed. So if you want it capitalized, if you want it you know, spaced a certain way, whatever parameters, however you set your answer, that's how you need to tell the students to answer it. It is only going to data validate in English. So if you teach a foreign language, data validation is not going to be your friend here, because it's not going to recognize any of the accents that you would put in for specific words. So again, multiple choice, you could do the grid, you could do a checkbox. Anything where they are picking the answer, it's going to grade very quickly and very easily. If you do a short answer question, again, it's going to give your students the maximum of whatever those multiple choice questions are. And then you can go in and hand assign points for short answer and paragraph answer.
Okay, so I kind of have two questions on this. One is that a teacher had a quiz and gave incorrect information based off of the multiple choice questions.
So that sounds like when you set the answer key, your answer key was set up incorrectly. And that's why the quiz is only going to do what you tell it to do. So you need to make sure when you set your answer key that you are choosing either the correct answer or however it needs to be, so that it gives them the specific amount of points. So you can see here on my answer key right now, it's worth 0 points. So if I change it to 5 points per question, okay, purple is the only correct answer. So another way to fix that up here in the settings for the quiz is to go in and turn on later after manual review. So that means that you as the teacher can go in and double check that the answers that the computer picked are being graded fairly. And if you have those short answers or paragraph answers, that would be the time to manually assign points for those and then release the grades to the kids so that they only get 1 grade.
And then the next question is from the chat, and it is, once the students have submitted their quiz, let's say they're using it as a quiz, in Google Classroom, they still have to go back into Google Classroom and push turned in, or does it
Correct.
automatically select that button for them?
It does not. So what it's going to do is it is going to talk to Google Classroom for the grades and the grades only. So they still have to go back and click turn in. So what I would do, I never worried about my kids clicking the turn in button as long as they took the quiz, because then once you have the grades, you can return the assignment, whether it's been turned in or not. And once I returned all of them and saw that they all had grades, I didn't worry about the turn in function. But yes, students do have to go back and manually click mark as done or turn in before it will say turned in on their end and on your end.
Okay, and so far I think that is all the questions we have covered.
Cool. Get out of that. Go back to my quiz. All right, does anyone have any other questions about Google Forms or Sheets? How they link together, how to sort your answers?
Oh, I do see one. Can you show conditional formatting again?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the column that I want to conditionally format. I'm going to go up to Format, go down to Conditional Formatting. Okay, it's going to bring this up. There's already one there that tells it to turn green when the word purple is typed in. So I'm going to add another rule, and I'm going to have it turn red. Okay, now you can do two things. You can change the font color. So here you can see all of the incorrect answers. I can have automatically turn red. Let's see if it's not empty. Okay, so incorrect answers are turning red, or I can have the entire cell turn red or purple or whatever color I want. So here it's turned red, but I would need to obviously change the text color so that I would be able to read, because red on red is you can't read. Okay, so there is how you would do that, and you can keep adding rules as many as you want until you're done. And then what I would do is go back to this very top button just to make sure that this is the correct column and that it's done everything that I want. That's also how you would sort. Okay. Any other questions? Anything I can show you again?
It says if the student showed turned in, but you can't find some of their turned in work.
Okay, so if a student on a form or just in general?
I'm assuming this, Mr. Lewis, you're trying to ask about Google Classroom.
Correct.
And then Ms. Duggar says on the form.
Okay, if students click turned in, all of their answers, if they've taken the quiz, are going to be on the sheet. So if their answers are not here, they didn't do it. Now, I would double check and make sure that they did their first name and last name, which those were required questions, so they can't get around answering them. But make sure, because we've limited it to one response and that we've made the questions required, if they filled it out, it would be on your sheet. So if it's not on your sheet, it doesn't exist and they need to take it. Just because they click turned in Classroom for something like this, there's not necessarily any work to attach. So it's not going to be just as simple as clicking turned in. Now, if they've clicked turned in on an attached assignment, something that you've sent out, and they click turn in and you can't find it, the first place I would look is in the Classroom folder on your drive. So if you go to your drive, and I'll just click on my drive button here, every one of your classes has its own folder in Google Classroom. So you can see I've got my impact team. Here's my Google Classroom. Okay, so every one of your Google Classrooms has a folder of work on your drive. So that would be the first place I would look. If it's not there, okay, I would also look in your trash. Now, it doesn't mean that you put it there intentionally. It could have been completely accidental, okay? So then you go to your trash and you search and see if it's in your trash. Or you can just do a search overall for the student's last name or their email address. And then anything that is attached to that person that they're the owner of is going to pop up no matter what folder it's in on your drive. So those would be the two places I would start. If you still can't find it, have them do the same thing, because sometimes the kids put it in the trash accidentally and then they're like, oh my gosh, I need to restore it. And that's super easy. You just click restore and it's done.
Okay, Mr. Zink, he wants to know one more time on the send button. When, okay, how, why?
Okay, so the send button, you are only going to send the form out when you are ready to have students or other teachers answer the questions. Okay, so you would just click send. It's going to give you a couple of options. I can email this form directly, which I would not want to do if I was sending it to multiple classes, because then you'd have to fill in all of their email addresses. Okay, I can link it, which is what you would do here. Okay, so if you're going to send a message out on Skyward about creating appointments, or if you're going to send a survey out to your students or your teachers and you're not using Google Classroom, you would just link it. Okay, you would copy the link, and then from Google Classroom, you would go in, create, let's say I'm just going to create an assignment, just a general assignment, not a quiz. Here, I can add by link directly. So I would just copy and paste my link in, or because it is currently in my Google Drive, I can also go in and find things directly in my Google Drive to link to Google Classroom. So either way, if you are not using Google Classroom, but you still want the form to be filled out, the best way to do that is to copy and paste the link.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, issues, concerns, comments?
I don't think so. And I am going to repost. Make sure you sign in. And if you have any questions after this, you might want to just write down, you already know https://bit.ly/ that's every bit.ly. Just write down webinar back channel, and you can ask us any question and we will email you the answers. So I think we're good. I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.